The owner of this vehicle had some concerns with his brakes, and I was told that a pint of brake fluid gets added every other day. That is an insane amount of brake fluid, and obviously it's leaking, it has to be going somewhere. It could only be one of two things: a leak on the interior of the vehicle or a leak on the exterior of the vehicle. The easiest way to find out if there's something wrong with your brakes can be through the brake pedal, and it's just about how it feels. Now, unfortunately, sometimes you might get used to it feeling wrong because it can develop a bad brake pedal over time, and if you drive this car every day, you're gonna get used to it. But a spongy pedal where it just feels like you're pressing on, well, a soaked kitchen sponge basically, there's no feel to it, and even though the vehicle might still stop, that's not good. The other thing is, well, no brakes. So you step on that pedal and it just goes to the floor. Obviously you're gonna notice that, but that's another way to know that there's something seriously wrong. If you think you have a leak on the inside of the vehicle, you'll notice it on the driver's side carpet. It'll be wet. And it gets there because it comes out of the master cylinder, in and through the brake booster, and leaks on the other side of the firewall on the inside of the vehicle. So you'll not only notice the carpet being wet, but also you'll see it leak down on the firewall. This has some insulation here. Our carpet and insulation is bone dry. There's no brake fluid here, and that means we're good on this end, and our brake fluid leak must be somewhere else. Now, if you have an external leak, the parts that can fail are your caliper, brake hose, or the brake lines. So it's pretty basic, but it's also a lot more obvious to spot because it'll leak on the ground. It's only obvious though if you actually look for it. And looking down here, wow. Yeah, that's a huge leak, so we definitely have some fixing to do. Let's put this up in the air and investigate. With the wheel off, we can clearly see this is where the leak is coming from. It's, well, actively dripping, and obviously that's a bad leak. So everything here is contaminated. The real fix for this is, of course, replacing the caliper. That is the source of the leak, and we'll disassemble it in a little bit and figure out more specifics and talk about it. But it actually contaminated the brake pads and the brake rotor. They are just covered in fluid on the backside. You can't just clean that off. They're done. You have to replace them. So to do this job right, or to fix it right, what we're gonna do is replace the pads and rotors, of course, the caliper, and because I don't know the condition of the brake fluid that was in here before, which may have caused the seal on the caliper to go bad, more on that later, I'm going to replace the brake hoses as well, just to refresh the entire braking system in the rear. How will I do that? Well, with a kit from oneauto.com that comes with all the parts you need, you can do the job right yourself the first time. Here we have all of the old parts that came off of the vehicle, which is now repaired. It is safe to drive on the road again. That was pretty bad. The rotor, well, there wasn't anything wrong with the rotor itself, other than the fact that it got soaked in brake fluid, and that makes it, a bad rotor in my opinion. So that's why that got replaced. The brake hose, once again, not anything wrong in particular with the brake hose. This was more a preventative measure. That's why I replaced it. We have the caliper bracket over here, which again, everything seemed to be functioning properly, but it was soaked in brake fluid, and so were the pads. Really soaked. You can't have that. And finally, the source of our leak right here, the caliper itself. More specifically, the piston. Even though it may have been operating, well, it was letting fluid escape through this seal right here. Now, this is actually just a dust boot. The seal that holds that hydraulic pressure inside so it can squeeze your brake pads, it has let fluid leak past it into the dust boot. This isn't supposed to be very tight, and it's not going to seal up if there's fluid behind it, so therefore it just let it leak out. Got all over everything and ruined our brakes. In our case, it even sprayed all over the wheel, and it is starting to damage the coating on it on the backside. And really the way they go bad is either age, so they just get very old. Now, this one wasn't too old, but it could have had contaminated brake fluid. So contaminated brake fluid will damage rubber components, and that is also why I replaced this brake hose, because I don't know what went through it. So that could have caused the seal to blow, or if brake pads were installed and this caliper was pushed back improperly, that could have also rolled that seal in there in a way in which it maybe got pinched or twisted, torn, and well, that deems the caliper bad. So regardless, when you have a leak on a brake caliper, if it contaminates everything like this, you're gonna have to just replace everything.